try to do that in advance. Karima, what do you think? Wait a couple more?
I think we're ready to go. We're live on Facebook, and I think
Okay.
people will start to show up soon. I mean, more.
All right. It's not an official meeting, but I guess I will call this party to order. So good evening, everyone, and welcome to the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee's holiday party for 2020. And I think that this is going to be one of those years that we're all going to remember this. This is unlike anything that we have ever gone through. My husband and I and our bulldog, we usually travel around the holidays, and we drive down to Southern California to spend time with family. We're not doing that this year, obviously. We have shelter in place. But I think that it's one of those years that will go down in history, because we have lived something that the world hasn't lived for more than 100 years. And we're all going to be talking about this. But I want to begin by, first of all, thanking Karima Lynch, our executive director. I also want to thank our amazing interns. So I see Alan, Zoe, Priscilla, I think is somewhere in there, for all the work that has gone into not only putting together the event, but really the work of the party this year. And after I speak, you're going to hear from the vice chair of partnerships, Peter Galata, who's going to talk more in detail about the work of Vote Blue SF. But this has really been a pretty monumental year for us, because we started the year thinking that 2020 would be done in such a way. We were thinking that it was going to be a presidential year with your typical campaign type work that goes into a presidential year. And of course, we had to rethink all of that and really refigure out what it meant to run a political operation in the middle of a pandemic. And I just want to thank the executive director and the staff for making that happen, for being nimble, for being open and flexible. And of course, we have a pretty incredible leadership team, the vice chairs and the officers of the party. And you're going to see them. You see some of them. Leah Lacroix, who's the first vice chair. Keith Baraka. You have Honey Mahogany. You have Peter Galata, as I noted. You have Janice Lee, our recording secretary. Annabelle, another secretary for community engagement. You had our treasurer, AJ Thomas, and now Carolina Martinez. You have people who just did all this work that it takes to run a party. And the two things that I want to highlight are, one, the fact that we took the work of the party at the local level very seriously, especially if you look at what happened in this last election in November. We had something that we hadn't seen in San Francisco, which you had business and corporate interests that came in and spent millions of dollars. I think it's close to $10 million that was spent against some of our candidates. And I do believe that the party program, which is the most extensive program that we've had for as long as I remember, was really key in making sure that our candidates and our ballot measures were successful. And so you're going to hear later on in the program from some of the candidates that we were instrumental in electing. We have a progressive supermajority still on the Board of Supervisors. You're going to hear from Supervisor-elect Myrna Melgar, from Supervisor-elect Connie Chan. You're going to hear from the members of the Board of Education, which, by the way, every single candidate endorsed by the party for Board of Education one election. I see Commissioner-elect Matt Alexander. You're going to hear from folks who were elected or reelected to the College Board. 3 of the 4 people we endorse also were elected. And then you look at the ballot measures, including ballot measures like Measure I that phase millions of dollars in opposition that prevail. In large part, the party endorsement helped them do that. And that's one thing that I think is different between San Francisco and what happened uh, at the state level, where at the state level, many of the ballot measures that the state Democratic Party endorsed actually failed, which is not the case at the local level. So we're very proud of that. So all in all, on the local front, I think that we had an extremely successful year and cycle, to the point that I've heard from many people that have analyzed the outcome of the election to say that if you wanted to know how the results were going to pan out, the thing was to look at the party endorsements, because those endorsements, more than anything else, actually told you what the outcome would be. So we're very proud of that. The second piece that I want to highlight is the work that we have done outside of San Francisco. One of the things that I started from the moment that I became chair was to make sure that we were influencing what happens at the state and at the national level. We did that with Red to Blue SF 2 years ago, where we helped to flip the House. And we did that again with Vote Blue SF. And that's where I want to give big kudos to Peter Galata, because he ran with Karima that operation, working closely with Speaker Pelosi, and that was extremely, extremely successful. And so, Peter, thank you for all the work that you put into that, your heart and soul for the last few months into making that happen. We were instrumental in helping to win a Senate race in the state of Arizona. We were instrumental in pushing Biden Harris in other parts of the country. And we had people like, member Susie Loftus, who organized nights, where you had these incredible nights where women were coming to Vote Blue SF to call all these places. And I guess, it's just, you want something done, you ask women to do it, and they make it happen. I'm proud also that we saw engagement by different communities of color. I know that I hosted a couple of nights with the young Young Dems, the Latinx Young Dems, and also the Latino Democratic Club. We were calling these, monolingual Spanish voters in different parts of the country, and that was really successful. And so I'm very proud of that work. And to the extent that the Democratic Party perhaps was not as successful in some parts of the state, I think that we can say that we had a role to play in the areas where success did occur. So I'm very proud of that. The last thing that I would say is that as much as we are proud of the work that we did, the work that is ahead is actually pretty important and critical work. The reality is that we, as a San Francisco Democratic Party, need to continue to push the state party and the federal party. And I will note a couple of things. For instance, at the state level, we know that the next big challenge for us is going through the ADEM delegate election process. And we know that with respect to that process, the state has left out Dreamers and DACA recipients from being able to run for election in that process. And that's not something that should have happened. We supported the efforts by Sarah Souza and other leaders to change the bylaws. We had a resolution. And even though some action was taken to address some of that, it wasn't enough. They didn't really do everything that needed to be done. And again, that's an area where San Francisco has been ahead of the state for years now, right? So that's an area where we need to continue to push the state party to do the right thing. Likewise, with respect to the national party, we know that there are certain areas where the party fell short of energizing some communities. And I would say this as a Latino, as a person who is part of a community of color, there were times when I felt the federal party, the national party, was not speaking to me and my communities that I belong to. And so San Francisco should continue to push the National Party in that direction. So again, thank you all for the incredible success that we had. I am proud to have been, a part of that, that it happened as part of my tenure. And again, to everyone who played a role in making that happen, please give yourselves a round of applause because you all deserve it. Absolutely. So the last thing before I turn it over to Peter, who's going to talk a little bit about Vote Blue SF, is for folks who are interested, we have the ADEM election process that is already underway. For those of you who are interested in running to be delegates of the state party, delegates are selected by assembly district. So we have 2 assembly districts in San Francisco, the 17th and 19th assembly districts. For each district, if you're interested in running, you have until December 15th to sign up to run. You need to have been a registered Democrat as of October 19th. And then once you register to run, the process for voting happens through, you actually have to be a registered Democrat in that assembly district, and then you have to actually register to actually vote for that process, and you have until January 11th to do that. So a number of steps that need to be taken. We are going to spend the next few days, the next few weeks actually, to inform people about this process, making sure that everyone understands the importance of this process. And we've never done it this way because once you register, you will be mailed a ballot and you will be voting by mail primarily. So it's a number of steps, and we want to make sure that everyone understands them and that everyone is engaged in that process. So if you have any questions, please let us know. And I know that Karima is putting information and Francis and others that are involved, information about that process. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Peter Galata. I want you to know that in terms of the program, at some point we're going to hear from some pretty amazing leaders and dignitaries that are joining us. And at some point that will also include hearing from some of our newly elected officials. And I will end the announcements about ADEM with the following point, that for people like Sarah Sousa and other Dreamers and DACA recipients who are not able to run, I am committing to make sure that they are appointed, and I'm happy to appoint them or have the state appoint them, but we'll make sure that those Dreamers who are not eligible to run, which we need to change that in the near future, that they have an appointment so that they have a seat at the table. So with that, I'll turn it over to Peter Galata.
Thank you, Chair Campos. And just if I could, on behalf of just the executive committee and the members, just want to say thank you for your leadership and all of the work that you did this year to carry us through what has been a very challenging year, but also a very important year for all of us. So thank you, Chair Campos. And I will be brief because we have an amazing lineup of speakers tonight, and I see many of them already who have joined us. And just thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. It's so good to see so many of you. I just want to say, first and foremost, thank you to every single person on this Zoom and out in the world that took action in the middle of a global pandemic to save our democracy. The work that needed to get done got done, and the turnout numbers tell the whole story. And it's pretty incredible. And I really especially want to thank those of you who took action with Vote Blue SF, which was our virtual volunteer hub that we set up in partnership with Speaker Nancy Pelosi. And as David mentioned, we were faced with a challenge this year of how to even stand up phone banks and bring people together and organize in the middle of a global pandemic. And thanks to Zoom, thanks to a lot of patience from everybody, and also just the hard work of a lot of our partner groups like Swing Left, Democracy Action, Sister District, we held hundreds of phone banks in the matter of months, starting in July. And I actually think we actually helped host more phone banks because they were virtual than if we were actually in person. The virtual space, there were literally phone banks happening that were hosted by our partners almost every hour of every day leading up to the election. It was just unbelievable. And we helped make thousands of calls into key races here in California, in Arizona, in Colorado, North Carolina. And the way that I see it, we were reinforcements. We were the backup to what was happening on the ground in states like Arizona. And so I really want to first and foremost acknowledge the organizers, particularly the Black, Brown, API, and Indigenous organizers who did the work on the ground over not just months, but years to flip states like Arizona and Georgia, which just wasn't possible just thinking about that just a few years ago. And so that was the foundation, that organizing was the foundation, and we came in to help. And so Vote Blue SF's role in all of this really wouldn't have been possible without the leadership, of course, of Speaker Nancy Pelosi and her team, Dan Bernal, Gary McCoy, who came to us and said, let's do this, let's make it happen, even in this virtual space. And also the team that helped keep it running, Susan Pfeiffer, Karima Lynch, our Vote Blue SF interns, Priscilla, Zoe, and Emmanuel, all of the phone bank captains, our volunteers who showed up day after day, week after week to make calls. And I also just want to thank our DCCC members and our Democratic clubs who hosted a number of phone bank nights. You really helped fuel and sustain this work and make it successful. And I really want to thank all of you for your support. And because I know so many of you on this call, you've already thrown down. I know that you're going to throw down again because we still have work to do, right? So all eyes are on Georgia right now, and I'm really excited that tonight we actually are going to get to hear from two incredible Democratic leaders who are serving in elected office in Georgia, to hear about what's happening on the ground there and what actions we can take to make sure we elect Jon Ossoff and Raphael Warnock. And so if you go to votebluesf.org right now, you can find ways to plug in and help out with the Georgia Senate runoff races. So I particularly want to draw attention to some events happening this Saturday. We have a couple of phone banks that have been organized by our partners and our Democratic clubs. The first event is, again, this is Saturday, a Flip Georgia Blue virtual campaign event and phone bank hosted by the United Democratic Club, the San Francisco Eastern Neighborhoods Democratic Club, the Edwin M. Lee Asian and Pacific Democratic Club, and the Alice B. Toklas Democratic Club, along with State Senator Scott Wiener. That event is at 1 p.m. from 1 to 3. You can register for it at votebluesf.org. I'll drop the registration link in the chat, and just want to thank our Democratic clubs for continuing to organize and continue to throw down and for hosting that event. A second event also at the same time, so you can choose where you want to show up to. Our partner groups, Democracy Action and Swing Left, are hosting a phone bank from 1 to 4 p.m. You can just log on from home. They'll get you set up with a script, a call list, and all the tools you need to start making calls. I'll also drop the registration link into the chat. And Susan Pfeiffer, who's here, can also give you all the details. I don't think Susan has stopped making calls since July. And I just really want to shout out Susan for just her being so incredible and just for all of her continued work. So I'm expecting we'll hear more ways we can take action from some of our speakers tonight, but those are just a couple things to flag and hope that folks will plug into. Let's keep the momentum up. We're all stuck at home right now. We got to make the most of it. Let's make some calls. Let's flip the Senate, and look forward to seeing many of you hopefully on Saturday at those phone banks. And just thank you everybody for all the work you did this year, and look forward to continuing to build and keep this movement going. So thank you.
Thank you, Peter. And before I turn it over to our next speaker, I want to just make a very brief announcement that because of the incredible work of Keith Baraka, Susan Pfeiffer, and others who have spent a great deal of time registering voters over the last months and years, we actually have we registered so many voters that we actually have an additional delegate to the executive board of the state party. So thank you, Keith. Thank you, Susan. It's a big accomplishment, and I'm happy to announce that based on the amazing work that he has done for Vote Blue SF, I will be appointing Peter Galata to that seat. So he deserves it, and we're very excited and proud of that. So with that, it is now my honor to turn it over to a very special guest who is here to speak with us. And of course, you know how important the grassroots is to her, because she is going to send us this message as she is doing God's work on behalf of our country, negotiating with Mitch McConnell and all the people that have stood in the way of relief for the people of this nation. So it is my honor to turn it over for a special message from our amazing one and only speaker, Nancy Pelosi.
David Campos, thank you so much for your kind introduction. Thank you for your steadfast leadership over the years as chair of the San Francisco Democratic Party. Thank you for the invitation to join your holiday party as you all virtually gathered to celebrate the victories we've accomplished. Because of you, we won the House Democratic majority for the people in 2018 at Red to Blue SF. This year, even though we couldn't gather in person, you did your part. By texting, phone banking, and organizing virtual events, you helped us hold the House, elect Joe Biden as president, and Kamala Harris as vice president of the United States. You also put us within striking distance to win control of the Senate. Our work is not done. We must come together again to win both of the Senate runoff elections in Georgia to remove Mitch McConnell as an obstacle to progress for the people. In that spirit, join me, our VIPs, our volunteers in politics. They're our VIPs, our very important people, and other special guests this Saturday as we rally virtually for a great Democratic victory in Georgia for our country. Once more, thank you for your ongoing leadership. Happy holidays.
Well, thank you. Thank you to our amazing speaker. And she really is doing God's work. You know, she can still have a smile even after having to deal with Mitch McConnell. So that's pretty amazing. So poised under pressure, talk about that. So I just want to note, as Speaker Pelosi said, and again, thank you to Susan Pfeiffer, Dan Bernal, and her incredible team. We have an event, the virtual rally this Saturday at 12 noon Pacific Standard Time. We ask you to please join, and I know that there's information in the chat. And you know, by phone banking, texting, we are able to finish the rest of the work that we were trying to finish by flipping the Senate. And this is the time to get the job done. And, you know, we are very proud that we're going to continue this work through December. And one thing about the event on Saturday is that following the virtual rally, you will automatically be invited to join Vote Blue SF, Democracy Action SF, United Democratic Club, and other San Francisco Democrats for a virtual phone bank. So join the rally and let's immediately get to work. So excited about that. And thank you again, Speaker Pelosi, for your leadership. We're proud of that partnership. So with that, we have some incredible group of people that are ready to speak. And I'm going to begin. I saw him earlier. And I'm going to have him go. I know that he has another commitment, but our district attorney, who also happens to be my boss, and it's a pleasure to work with him. It's a pleasure to have him here. And I know that there is a Boudin tradition with the Democratic Party holiday party. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our district attorney, Chesa Boudin, and welcome to our event.
Thank you, David. And I'm worried that you make me go first is going to give people the impression that we worked together and we planned this all out. But I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. I see Janice Lee already raising that spurious allegation in the chat. So thank you, Janice. But it is really great to be with all of you. I get to see and work with David every day now, which is wonderful. But so many others of you who are friends and allies, I really miss. I miss seeing you every day. I miss being with you. I miss the holiday party at Manny's. I miss Tom Amiano's stand-up comedy and all the other things that we get to do when we gather in person. And I'm so excited at the work we're going to be able to do in the year ahead with Connie joining us on the Board of Supervisors and so many others, Matt on the board. We have a lot of work to do, and it's work that we can only do together. And I look back at 2020. I've been in office 11 months, and the challenges that I've faced, that my office has faced, that San Francisco and this country have faced, could not have even been imagined by any of us a year ago. The devastation of lives and families, of the economy, of the workforce, the dramatic changes to everything from public health to public education to playgrounds to our favorite restaurants, and of course, public safety, were truly unimaginable a year ago. And I know that in our own way, all of us have been doing our part to find opportunities amidst this crisis, to rise above it, to turn really, really negative developments into positive. We've done that as a party with the election. We look around the state and around the country at where alumni from the office I'm so honored to hold are now serving today. George Gascon, the former DA of San Francisco, elected as DA of Los Angeles, the biggest criminal justice jurisdiction in the country. And of course, former District Attorney of San Francisco, Kamala Harris, now about to serve as our Vice President, played a critical role in reclaiming the White House. There is so much work to do, and people like both of them, and so many of you on this call, are reminders every day about the opportunities and about the need for leadership in a year like 2020 more than ever. It's a real privilege to serve San Francisco. We're doing our best to navigate a treacherous crisis, and it is not over yet. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the work that you all do every day, and I'm just privileged to be a part of it. So thank you. David, I know Tom Amiano will have jokes about me later. I look forward to hearing those. Please keep them PG.
Thank you very much, DA Boudin, and appreciate your presence here. We have a pretty active and engaged federal delegation, state delegation. I'm going to turn to another member of our federal delegation who just joined us, Jackie Spear, and then we're going to turn to Senator Wiener and the members of our state delegation. I know that the senator also has to leave very soon, but let me ask Congresswoman Jackie Spear, who, if you've ever seen her in action, I had the opportunity to see her in action in Washington, D.C. And if you can think of how would someone, what do you get when you elect someone who has survived what she has survived? You get a force of nature. It is so remarkable to see her in action in Washington, D.C. I was very proud to see her and what she did to her in front of her colleagues, and just the way she spoke, pretty amazing. So the incredible Congresswoman Jackie Spear. Congresswoman Spear here?
Yeah, she's here. You need to reactivate your microphone. Yeah.
Okay, I think, there you go. There you go.
I'm turning the microphone off so I can't speak. So let me compliment you on dressing for the occasion. I'm very impressed. I'm impressed by, I guess it's Susie's got Mary in the background, and I saw Joe kind of flashing one of my old buttons. And my best to Scott and David as they embark on their new legislative session in Sacramento. What I want to say to you is quite simple. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I mean, we thought that we had this in the bag, and then in fact, we did get it in the bag, but we had no idea how much the right and the Trump's accolades would come out. So, you know, we cannot dismiss him as much of a narcissistic maniac that has done nothing to help America during its greatest time of crisis in the last 100 years, who has blood on his hands because we have 270,000 people dead and 14 million people who've gotten COVID. Putting all that aside, he still generated 70 million voters. And Joe Biden is bringing us more than hope. He is bringing us leadership that we haven't had for 4 years. And he's bringing us back into a democracy that we almost lost. So my message to you is just thank you for holding on to this democracy, because we forget the fact that it is a fragile governmental entity. And most democracies historically have not survived. So we were at a precipice. And you can see in the weeks since he lost the election, fair and square, by 7 million votes, he lost the election, lost the Electoral College by the same number of votes that he won it by, that Biden won it by this time. And yet we have 222 House and Senate Republicans who refuse to answer the question, who won the election? And there's still efforts underway in a number of our states to try and overturn them. So our work is not done, and it probably won't be done, because I have the fear that Donald Trump is going to find a way to continue this big fat lie for as long as he can. And as we all know, he is very good at doing one thing, and that is ripping people off. And right now he's ripped off how many hundreds of thousands of people by continuing to generate money to his PAC that now has eclipsed $200 million. So he continues to file these lawsuits. I think we're at over 50 now, for one reason: to generate more money to put in his pocket. So as we all shake our heads in disbelief, we can actually be very excited about the president-elect and what he's bringing back to Washington in terms of leadership and talent. And we are thrilled to have our vice president-elect, who is going to just provide so much moral authority and modeling for generations of young women across this country. And it's just very exciting to see. And we can't forget our Speaker of the House. You know, it's very easy to forget that not only does she represent San Francisco extremely well, but she has to represent the entire country. And what she slips into these bills on behalf of San Francisco always amazes me. And as you see this next CARES Act 3, whatever we're going to call it, the stimulus, you will see her handiwork, where she has been able to attract more dollars to our region for very important purposes. So, David, I want to thank you. I want to thank all of the members who are on this call, all the hundreds of thousands of calls I knew that you made on behalf of our Democrats across the country, and it made a difference. You can take great pride in saying, you know what, I kept this democracy. And you can tell your children and grandchildren that you had a stake and that you had a presence in retaining this democracy. So thank you. Thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you very much, Congresswoman Spear, for everything you do. And now we're going to turn to our state delegation. And, you know, San Francisco has a very active and engaged Senate delegation, though some would say that too many of them are maybe Harvard Law School grads. and someone that I actually have known longer than I have known anyone in San Francisco politics, my political twin, Senator Scott Wiener. Thank you for being here, and congratulations on your reelection.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, I think we're going on 27 years at this point. And time does fly, and people sometimes forget that David and I entered politics together here back in 2004 when we ran for the Central Committee together. Politics is a long and winding road. First of all, I just want to say thank you. It's really inspiring just to scroll through the Zoom here on my iPad and see the amazing tapestry of Democratic Party activists on this Zoom. People who we don't always all agree on everything, and we have our disagreements and sometimes our fights here locally. But in terms of the big picture Democratic Party values around fundamental structural reform to our racist criminal justice system, or making housing more affordable, or actually tackling climate change, like right now, not tomorrow, not in a year, now. These huge issues about the future of our existence, we're all united. And what happened 2 years ago in terms of this Democratic Party's help in flipping the House of Representatives, that just shows what the San Francisco Democratic Party is about. So thank you for everything that you do. And to the Central Committee members, it is a thankless job. I did it for 12 years before I was elected to the Senate. Back when we only met in the state building basement where there was no phone reception and everyone got really cranky with each other all the time. It's a lot of work, but it's so important. And so thank you for what you do. It's always inspiring to hear from Jackie Spear, who just continually teaches me what it means to be a strong elected official. And I still remember one time when I had a particularly big bill that was defeated. The votes weren't there. And within 15 minutes of that defeat, I had a text message from Jackie Spear saying, "Don't give up. I can tell you all of the bills that I had to do 3, 4, 5 times to get a path. Just don't ever give up." And that's who she is. And frankly, that's who we are as Democratic Party. I think sometimes, especially sometimes younger, up and coming activists, and we were all there back when, for those of us who are older now, when we were younger, it's so easy to become impatient. And we know that so many of the huge fights around civil rights, how long did it take to get a Voting Rights Act? It can take years and years, or even decades. And what is the difference between winning and losing isn't whether you win the first time around. It's whether you have the perseverance and the tenacity to just keep going. And as we switch from this nightmare monster in the White House to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, as we keep Nancy Pelosi in the Speaker's chair, and as I know, we're going to put Chuck Schumer in the majority leader's role in the Senate, it's still, we can't take anything for granted. We know that Nancy has a very narrow majority. We know that that when we win these 2 Senate seats, we're going to have a narrow majority in the Senate, and it is going to take continued work from the grassroots to make sure that Congress does the right thing, to make sure that the state legislature does the right thing as we try to move safe injection site legislation and aggressive criminal justice reform legislation through the legislature, making sure that we get that passed. We can never give up. We can never let up. And I know we're going to keep fighting and keep winning. So have a wonderful holiday season, and everyone, please stay healthy and safe. Thank you.
And I know that for those of us electeds, it's hard. So they're telling me try to keep it to 2 minutes, but it's the holidays, so we'll do the best we can. But thank you, Senator Wiener. And they told me that I can't have another Harvard Law follow another Harvard Law, so I'm directed by my staff to go to Phil Ting from Assembly District 19. So, Assembly Member Ting.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I guess you're outing me as the non-Harvard Law School graduate. So well, I just want to just join you. Thank all the Central Committee members. Thank really all the volunteers. I'm just so amazed about how much Democratic talent, how much activism we have, I know that we sort of take it for granted when we are here in San Francisco, and then when you go to Sacramento and you talk to others of our colleagues in the districts that they represent, and the sort of the Democratic talent pool is just nowhere near what we have in San Francisco. We are so lucky to have all of you, be representatives, be volunteers, just everything we do. I just remember thinking 4 years ago, for all the hundreds of thousands of calls that were made across the country for then Secretary Clinton, all the calls that have been made from San Francisco to swing states, just the number of volunteers who walked and went to congressional districts 2 years ago and congressional districts this year, and who go to Nevada. It's all your activism that has won us so many seats, not just here, but around the country. We are now a supermajority in the legislature. We have the most Democrats since actually more Democrats than even during Watergate, which is pretty incredible to think about. Yeah, you can see Congresswoman Spear nod her head. I mean, it is incredible just the amount of activism and just the amount of fervor that we have. And I think so much of what I always talk about in terms of San Francisco, what impresses me so much isn't just how much effort people put in, but really how incredibly innovative we are. We talk about the innovation economy from a tech perspective, but I've always felt like San Francisco is the policy innovation center, not just of California, but really of the entire country, where so many amazing policy ideas start here, and so much of it starts between all of us as we're talking about different things that we all want to do. And it really is possible with all your activism, all your help, when we take on pretty big, large interest groups, not just here in the city, but really all over the state. So I just want to say thank you. Thank you for keeping that fight alive, and for all that you do every day for just fighting for our core democratic values, and just remembering that we are constantly fighting for the people and try to make their lives better. Thank you.
Thank you, Assembly Member. And I see Alex Walker from your staff, who is a great partner with the party here. And so now I'll turn it over to the Assembly Member for my district, who I serve with on the Board of Supervisors, Assembly Member David Chu, and I see your son was with you earlier, so welcome. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good evening, Democrats. Just appreciate what you're all doing and representing the amazing diversity of our city, and apologies for my son yelling in the background. He's getting excited about all this blue. And just thank you for being part of ending the worst nightmare of likely of our lives, and kicking out the monstrosity of a president and electing a great president, Joe Biden, and San Francisco's own Kamala Harris. Just want to also thank the leadership of the DCCC, all that you have done this past year, particularly in working alongside great grassroots organizations, Swing Left, Vote Blue SF, Democracy Action. Want to, of course, thank Speaker Pelosi and Congresswoman Spear for your tenacity in protecting our House majority. And just want to say a quick welcome to a friend from the East Coast. I know Georgia Representative Sam Park is going to be joining us shortly as the first Asian American ever elected to his state legislature. Sam and I met a couple years ago at a conference of state legislators, and I remember talking to him and to Stacey Abrams about how many goddamn Republicans they have in their legislature. And it's just incredible how much work they have done to help us take our country back. And we need to obviously support them and stay on those phones until it's done on January the 5th. Let me just take a moment and just thank you for what you all represent as far as San Francisco values, and frankly, the values that inspire Phil and Scott and I with our work in the state capitol. You know, while we represent the deepest blue in California, we are taking our values to Sacramento, to making sure that we all get through this pandemic, fighting to feed our neighbors, fighting to make sure that folks get their unemployment checks, fighting for racial equality to save our climate. This year, I introduced a couple bills to extend our eviction moratorium and establish a state rental assistance program. But we've got so much work to do. And what I often like to say is, as goes San Francisco, so goes our state. And as we all say, as goes California, so goes the country. So just appreciate what you guys are doing and representing the deepest blue of the blue as we carry the fight on and we really bring the change that we need back in our country. So with that, back to Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Assembly Member. And it's good to see you, Lucas. We'll now move on to our amazing Board of Supervisors, and we're going to hear tonight from the supervisor candidates that we were proud to support that won in this election. And we're going to begin with one of the newest members of the board, supervisor-elect from District 1, Connie Chan.
Thank you, Chair Campos, for having me on. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate being here as your District 1 supervisor-elect. And it's an honor to serve. And I'm sure everyone here knows that too. But as we're talking about, turning states to blue and vote blue and all these efforts, and I just want to bring it back to you and to think about our race. It was a nail biter, and it's really fitting the fact that it took a week and it was close. And I think all of you also know that, because also many of you were there with us, be it lit drop, be it phone banking, and even when it was finally safe for us to do so when we door knocked. And just so many of you were out there, and I so appreciate the party support, and we couldn't have done it without you. But I just kind of want to also bring a reminder that while we are very progressive in San Francisco and so proud to join a supermajority of progressive, members on our board of supervisors, I just kind of want to remind everyone that, even so, that we were under attack. We were under attack from the GOP, and it was challenging, especially during the pandemic, when grassroots effort that we're so good at was very challenging. Yet we overcame it, but that's because, again, phone banking, postcards writing, letter writing, all of those actually really do matter, and really just wanted to urge you to do so, for not just for our race, but for California, but for the entire nation, and in this case right now at this point, so critical for Georgia. And I think our race really show all of us that every single vote really counts. There's no doubt about it. And it's not just a saying, it's really true. And so I really urge you to continue. I know that it's always the election, then that we all come together and rally. But the lesson that I have learned from our race, I start to realize, because we've been through the primary this year for the DCCC race, and then our race in November, and now the Georgia race in December. What I'm learning is that, grassroots effort year round. It's ongoing, it doesn't stop. So let's keep it up. And again, I so appreciate everybody. We're going to do some great work. We're going to continue to push a very progressive agenda that is going to be for the working people, for the immigrant and the communities of color in San Francisco. We're going to push forward during this pandemic. We see that there's how this pandemic really show that our economy has disproportionately hurting the working people, and we need to make sure that we make our corporation pay their fair share. And you know what? San Franciscans have said so through Prop FINL. We say to corporations that it is time for them to meet their responsibilities. And that's what I intend to do. As a newest member on the board of supervisors, I look to my colleagues, I look to your support, so that we can make sure that we carry out the agenda. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Supervisor-elect Chan. I really like the sound of that. And now we're going to hear from someone that I actually had the honor of serving with on the Board of Supervisors. He was just re-elected to represent District 3. We're proud to endorse him. Supervisor Aaron Peskin.
I guess we're going. Chair. I guess we're going in district order and not in order of my soon-to-be new colleagues. So let me reiterate what other people have said. thank you, DCCC. You guys just busted it out on the local level, on the state level, on the national level. But let us not start patting ourselves on the back. We have a lot of work to do. I want to associate myself with the comments of Supervisor-elect Chan relative to the fact that San Francisco voters get it as it relates to equity in taxation, but we've got a lot of work to do. And I don't really have a lot of trust in the state government, and I don't have any trust in the federal government. And I think it's all about what happens on the local level. And so I want to express to my friends and colleagues of the DCCC that, yes, indeed, I was the chair of for 4 years, and to my predecessors, Mr. Weiner, to my successor, Mr. Campos, and to all of us who will continue to do this work day in, day out, that we have some local imperatives. We must divest from fossil fuels in our retirement system. I failed to do that in 2019. I did not try to do it in 2020, the year of the pandemic. But can we all get together and get our retirement system that is worth billions of dollars to divest from fossil fuels in 2021? I'm going to need your help. Let's do this together. There are many more things. I just want to thank everybody for hanging in there, for staying sane, for trying to be healthy. Today, County of Santa Clara, there were 1,700 new cases of COVID. Today in San Francisco, we reach an all-time high across all levels of acute care and ICUs, I believe. It causes me great pain that all of our outdoor dining has ceased. And I know it causes us all great pain, but we're all in it together. And I just want you all to soldier through the holidays. But I really, really want to thank all of the volunteers for the work that was done to elect Connie and to elect Myrna. And as Connie said, it comes down to a few votes per precinct. And if it were not for the DCCC, we would have had a different outcome there. We would have had a different outcome in D7. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart. And that's my 2 minutes. And Mr. Campos, I am done.
Thank you, Supervisor Peskin. And it is my honor to now turn to Supervisor-elect Myrna Melgar from District 7, who just became the first Latina ever elected to the Board of Supervisors. And we were proud to support you. And again, like the sound of Supervisor-elect Melgar.
Thank you so much, Chair Campos. I just want to point out that I'm actually not the first Latina elected. That was Supervisor Susan Leal.
That's true.
She was appointed first, but she was elected on her own, after. But the first one in 25 years, so district election for sure. And I'm so grateful to the Democratic Party for endorsing me and having faith in me, and for all the folks on this call who worked on the campaign, did door knocking and lit dropping, and mentored me and helped me really my whole lifetime. Like Connie, I'm an immigrant to San Francisco. I came here with my family when I was 12, although my family has deep roots in San Francisco on both sides. My great-grandfather was a Jewish immigrant from Germany who founded an import-export company between San Francisco and El Salvador, and that's how those genes ended up there. And my mom's family came here to work and send money back home, like so many other immigrants have done for decades. San Francisco has always been that beacon of hope. And I want to work, and I will work with my colleagues to make sure that that is sustainable, that we are addressing the issues of workforce and immigration, that we tackle our affordable housing crisis. fix our muni, tackle criminal justice reform, make sure that the system works for our kids. So all of those things that the Democratic Party make up the Democratic Party's platform, I will work my butt off to make sure that, you know, we make progress, that our kids can inherit a better place from us. And, you know, lastly, I will say that, you know, I was reminded the other day that when I first came to this country from El Salvador, my Aunt Nora gave us a tour, and we were driving up 19th Avenue and all those pretty houses on Parkside I remember seeing, and I was like, oh, that's so pretty. The architecture was just so different from El Salvador. And my aunt said, oh, you know, that's not for us, honey. You know, those houses are not for us. And I'm the supervisor now. And thank you, Democratic Party, for believing in somebody like me, somebody like Connie, you know, that we can now have a seat at the table and we can fight for immigrants. We can fight for women. During the pandemic, when so many Latina women have lost their jobs, cleaning offices, cleaning hotels, I want to make sure that people have food on the table, that people don't get evicted, that we hold up the people that make the city work. And I am so proud to be a Democrat and to be in the same room with all of you and to make sure that we push the platform that the Democratic Party believes in. And now we have a partner in the White House, somebody at HUD that will help us invest in affordable housing, and, you know, have Chesa Boudin and Chairman Campos committed to reforming our criminal justice system so that our kids can be safe and can have a future in our city. So thank you so much, everyone, and happy holidays to all.
Thank you, Supervisor-elect, and again, congratulations to you. I'm going to turn to my supervisor, Hillary Ronan, who talk about a fighter and being out there pushing the envelope for people. I'm so happy that she was reelected unopposed. So Supervisor Hillary Ronan.
Thank you, Chair Campos. And I want to start just by thanking you and thanking Karima Lynch for all of the incredible work that you do, keeping our local party strong and alive and active. You know, I know, Chair Campos, you do this in your spare time because, oh, you have so much of it. So I just want to acknowledge and appreciate you. And Karima, I just think the world of you. Thank you for everything you're doing. Herding cats every day in and day out. You're the best. And I just left some of our other colleagues at the Budget and Finance Committee at 7 o'clock on a Wednesday night because we are fighting to keep the shelter-in-place hotels open for people experiencing homelessness during the most terrifying spike in the pandemic as the winter approaches. And I think that fight that's going on as we speak at the Budget Committee is what we're all about as Democrats, and what this is all about. It's the engagement in politics isn't for power. It isn't for recognition. It isn't for to feel good about ourselves. It's because we have deep systemic injustice in this country where people are getting the short end of the stick day in and day out. And it's incumbent upon us to fight. And many of you who I saw speaking, because I came in kind of late, made that point in very specific ways. But I just want to tell you what an honor it is to stand beside you and fight that fight every single day. I know that sometimes we don't always agree, each one of us in this holiday celebration. But what I know about each one of us in this holiday presentation is that we work so hard to do what we think is right. And we're so tired because we work so hard. And for that, I just want to appreciate every single one of you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you do. I see you, I appreciate you. And even when I disagree with you, I see you and I appreciate you. And I'm looking really forward to advancing this year with a much better federal government. I think that we're gonna jump leaps and bounds in this year, even though we're in the middle of a pandemic and a huge, budget crisis all over the world. So thank you again, and look forward to standing beside you all year next year. Happy holidays, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Supervisor Ronan. And again, congratulations. And we're now going to turn to another candidate that we endorsed in District 11. We have Supervisor Asha Safai, who was just reelected. I believe that he is in the chat room now. So congratulations, Supervisor. Thank you for being here. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Chair Campos. Thank you, everyone, this evening. One of the things I want to start by saying is I truly appreciate the DCCC's endorsement. It definitely had a tremendous impact on my race in a year. I'll just say that probably one of the highest voter turnouts ever in District 11, almost over 83%. I was teasing Supervisor Peskin the other day saying that we beat him in terms of the number of votes. I beat him in the terms of the number of votes, but District 11 had more votes than District 3. And that's something that hasn't usually happened in many races. Thousands of people, almost 36,000 people, 35,000 people voted for in the race. And that to me was tremendous. And so the Democratic Party's endorsement, thank you to all of you that voted to get me on the ticket. Thank you for all of you once I was on the ticket for your fairness and making sure that the message got out. And believe me, in a year when people were voting for the first time, having the Democratic Party's endorsement is tremendously important. But let me just say this. When I first got elected, it was on a night when I didn't know I had won, but I felt I had won. And at the end of the day, people were crying because Donald Trump had been elected president. And we had to live through 4 years, almost my first month in office. We were all standing on the steps of City Hall talking about how Muslim Americans and how people from countries that I was born in and that many people were born in San Francisco would never have been able to come to the United States if President Trump had been able to ban immigrants from those countries. And that had a profound impact on the shape and direction of my 4 years in office. And I know many of you stood shoulder to shoulder with us, with immigrant communities, with the Muslim community, with communities that have been singled out for anger and hate for many years. And Trump took it to the next level. But you know what? Here we are 4 years later. We won. We have allies in the White House. And at the end of the day, I look forward to working with every one of you to use these next 4 years to advance so many causes that we all care about, fighting for working people, fighting for immigrants, fighting for working families. And then all the great work that we have to do to recover from this awful, awful pandemic that in some ways, and I say this whenever I'm talking with community, how it's brought many of us closer together. It's brought out so much of the best in us. I was at the Cow Palace today, organizing with faith-based community, delivering meals and PPE and packages to over 5,000 families. Those are things that we never would have seen on that scale. But at the same time, there's been so much hurt and despair. And we all have to continue to come together as we recover from that. And so I thank you all again for your support. Thank you all for standing with me and helping me to have a decisive victory in this November. So appreciate all your support and look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Supervisor Safai. And again, congratulations. And before we continue inviting some of our newly elected and re-elected officials, I want to take an opportunity, if people don't mind, I want to turn it over to Jane Kim, who helped us organize and find these incredible folks late their time, and they're actually working with folks from different parts of the country. And we are very grateful to have them here and to hear from them, from State Representative Sam Park and Commissioner Mariah Parker. Let's give them a big San Francisco welcome. But before we do that, I'll turn it over to Member Jane Kim, who worked with Peter Galata to have them come tonight. So Member Kim.
Thank you so much, Chair Campos, and hello and happy holidays to everyone here, and congratulations to all of the candidates and electeds who won this past November. What an exciting year, I think, here locally in San Francisco for all of our wins, including the wins of the Democratic Party. And, you know, as we had a major win in winning back the White House this year, we still have the election saga continues, and it continues in the state of Georgia, where we have a runoff for 2 of our U.S. Senate seats. This is critical, as many of you know, because having a majority on the Senate will allow us to not only push forward a Democratic Party agenda, but will also allow progressive activists within the party to really push, you know, our party to the left and really have even a fighting chance of winning some of the policy agendas that we have fought for. I'm really excited to introduce 2 colleagues of mine from Georgia who I have gotten to know over the past couple of years. The first that we've asked to come and talk a little bit about what happened in Georgia in 2020, and really all of the work that led up to turning Georgia blue in November. What an incredible feat. And then what we can do to support their efforts in ensuring that we can win Warnock and Ossoff in the runoff on January 5th. And so first, I want to introduce a young woman, Maria Parker, who is a commissioner for the County of Athens. She won her race in 2018 and then won her re-election this year unopposed, speaking to the incredible work and leadership she has taken on. She is a rapper, a linguist, a PhD student, a Black Lives Matters leader, and she made headlines when she was sworn in as the Athens-Clarke County Commissioner at age 26, with her hand on the copy of the autobiography of Malcolm X held by her mother. This photo went viral and really showcased the growing number of openly queer and millennial Black women that are winning office across the country to represent our communities. This past year, she voted to end cash bail, support pre-arrest diversion programs to reduce recidivism, was active on Senator Bernie Sanders' campaign for president on the ground in Georgia, and spearheaded an initiative to give paid field organizing apprenticeships for Georgia races dedicated to working class young people of color, which is incredibly important. Next, I want to introduce another friend and colleague that I'm incredibly proud of. He needs less of an introduction because he spent quite a bit of time in the Bay Area himself. Sam Park, the first Korean American elected to the state house in Georgia, and someone who has worked very closely with someone that we all admire, Stacey Abrams. In fact, I first heard of Sam when I met Stacey Abrams 5 years ago in my office, and she told me that she had a plan to turn Georgia blue 6 years ago, but that she could only do it if she built a coalition of African American, Latinx, and Asian American voters. And as she sat at my table, you know, often Asian Americans are left out of this coalition building effort. She right off the bat said, I'm running a queer Korean American man today for office to join me on the state house. And this person is Sam Park, who is born and raised in Georgia, the grandson of refugees and the son of Korean immigrants. Sam has also done an incredible amount of work this past year. He worked on a state and earned income tax credit, worked to reform Georgia's eviction laws, so critical as the COVID pandemic has been set in, and working to decriminalize HIV to help end this another epidemic and pandemic. And both of them have been incredibly active in Georgia. Sam was one of the surrogates for now President-elect Biden, and was incredibly active on the ground during his campaign. And so I want to invite both of them to speak about what happened in Georgia this year and what we can do to ensure victory on January 5th. So, you know, I'd like to start with Commissioner Athens, and then we'll go to Representative Park.
Great. Thank you so much for having me, everyone. And it's great to see you again, Kim. My name is Mariah. I've been serving on the Athens-Clarke County Commission since 2018. And every movement that I've been involved in terms of political organizing, has been youth-led, be it my own campaign for commission that was put together with a gaggle of service industry workers and musicians and college students getting out there knocking on doors to elect me. Or, you know, this summer with the movement for Black Lives, I participated in a lot of student organized direct actions. And these people were being out there in the streets, adamant that those gathered would get out and vote in these elections. As we saw, the movement for Black Lives actually was a major catalyst for people registering to vote, for folks getting out to vote. And so I guess when I think about how we have gotten to where we are in Georgia politics and where the future lies in not only flipping Georgia blue with these Senate races and our Public Service Commissioner's race, which has also gone to a runoff, but hopefully electing a Democratic governor in 2022, I really hope that we will continue to listen to and incorporate the voices and the organizing of young people who had historic turnout in this year's election, and in many ways could be seen as those that won the election for Joe Biden. I think that could be said for a lot of demographics, but 21% of Joe Biden's vote share in Georgia came from young people 18 to 29. I think Joe Biden won with young voters 18 to 29 by 188,000 votes. And so it really has made the difference in this election. Folks that are new to civic engagement and trying to find ways to get plugged in need our leadership, they need our invitation, and they need us to listen to them as well, because they come with a lot of assets, a lot of understandings and literacies that are really critical for bringing in their peers into this work and ensuring that in places like Georgia, we continue to build progressive coalitions and win power for folks to create progressive policy. And so I am very indebted to these organizers with whom I've worked at the University of Georgia through organizations like the People's Budget and Athens for Everyone, particularly folks like the Economic Justice Coalition, who have focused particularly in getting high school students registered to vote for 20 years now in Georgia, or in Athens particularly. But to think about how much organizing has gone into that effort, behind the scenes, 4 years and years to bring us to that point, I want to ensure to shout out the folks that long before everybody believed this was possible, continued to forge on nonetheless. And now we have a new generation of young people who are newly engaged, who through the power of their vote and the power of seeing Georgia flip blue, realize the strength in our numbers and what we can accomplish when we all come together, who are looking for ways to continue to get involved. But it's up to us to resource them, to hear them out, to let them try out their kooky ideas and their strengths that they've developed, and let them lead the way, because they brought us to where we are in Georgia, I feel. And if we let them, we'll continue to lead us out of various debacles in the future. And in that spirit, some organizing that I'm doing currently in Athens is focused on apprenticing, as Jane said, apprenticing young working class people of color in field organizing, strategy and tactics, as a means of also providing, in a sense, a local stimulus for folks that are out of work in the pandemic right now. There's a lot of people who are trying to, struggle with utility shutoffs and things of the like. And so putting cash in the hands of people who need it, while also training them on organizing skills that will benefit them in, future struggles, be they, issue-based campaigns or electoral. And so if you all would like to support that effort, I'm going to drop the link to our Act Blue in the chat. We're aiming to knock on 27,000 doors between now and January 5th. We've already hit, I think, about 4,000, so we're getting there. But your contributions will help us hire more staff, get the lit, do all the support activities for these young folks who are so new to organizing, but who have the potential to, to really change things, not just for Athens, but the state as a whole, if we keep them involved. So thanks again for having me. And I hope you all will support us. Oh, not only in electing the Senate, our senators, our future senators, John Ossoff and Raphael Warnock, but help out with our public service commissioners campaign. Utility rates in Georgia are the 8th highest in the country. Energy costs are, I think, the 5th highest in the country. And so to have a public service commissioner who's committed to, fighting for working people, for investing in clean energy and getting us a pipeline for clean energy jobs in Georgia is so important. So in addition to the Senate races, take a look for Daniel Blackman. He's great. And if you want to help us organize for him on the ground in Athens, I dropped the link in the chat.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, please drop all the links on the chat. And if you are fine or cool with folks contacting you, the best way to reach out to you. As I transition to Representative Park, I talked about, what happened in Georgia in 2020, but I think what many people don't realize is how long that work has been taking. And Sam, you won office in 2016. You beat a 3-term Republican incumbent, and you won when the Georgia Democratic Party said that your race was not winnable. They did not invest in your race. And yet you won as the first openly queer, openly gay, first Korean American, son of immigrants. So you were turning Georgia blue 4 years ago. So tell us kind of what happened in Georgia. How did we get here? And then what do we do moving forward for the next 3 or 4 weeks?
So thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to be with San Francisco Democrats. Y'all are amazing. Y'all are fantastic. And of course, thank you for all the support that y'all have given me over the years, as well as to the state of Georgia. I know y'all have been critical in ensuring that we have the resources necessary to do the hard work of empowering people by getting them registered and mobilized and inspiring them to actually use their power and to vote. In 2016, I unseated a 3-term Republican chairwoman because I saw in my district the New American majority that was always there, which Stacey also understood so well. And I had the opportunity to build that coalition, finding common ground, shared values amongst progressive whites, Blacks, the Latinx, and the Asian American community. And we did the unthinkable. We shook the political foundation back in 2016, and we haven't stopped since. As Jane referenced, the November elections in 2020 did not happen overnight. It was the culmination and the fruition of an incredible amount of time, resources, heart, from leaders like Stacey Abrams, from Black women and Asian American women on the ground, organizing communities that brought us to where we are today. As Mariah said so accurately, without a doubt, Georgia turned blue because of the rising electorate, because of people of color, because of first-time voters, and the next generation saying, enough is enough. For me, one of the highlights of the 2020 general election was the fact that Georgia went blue, despite the fact that we are under complete Republican control. In fact, not only did they set the rules in terms of how elections would be conducted, just last year, they spent $100 million on purchasing and implementing these new voting machines that Republicans are now screaming as if their hair is on fire, right? But undeniably, Georgia clearly slammed shut the door on 4 more years of Trump. And all of that was, I'd say, greatly attributable, if not mostly attributable, to the work of Stacey Abrams, who for the past decade, not just after her gubernatorial election, but for the past decade, simply did what she thought was right, and trying to expand the electorate, strengthen our democracy by investing in people, by getting them registered to vote. Black voters, Latinx voters, Asian American voters, white high school voters, right, across the board, across the state. And in so doing, the past decade of her work in engaging new American communities and engaging immigrant communities had national implications, had international implications in ensuring that President-elect Biden will have the ability to lead our country through these incredibly challenging times that we're in. As we're looking toward the January 5th runoff elections, once more, Georgia has an opportunity to determine the course of this country. And we're only going to be successful if we are working together, not just as the diverse, multiracial, multi-generational coalition that delivered Georgia for Biden on November 3rd, but from folks like y'all and from people around this country who are investing, who are supporting and contributing to Reverend Raphael Warnock and John Ossoff's campaigns, the investment and the support y'all are providing to the community groups that are on the ground, like Fair Fight, like New Georgia Project, like Asian Americans Advancing Justice and the Asian American Advocacy Fund. These organizations who, again, have been on the ground for the past decade, empowering people, working day and night to increase civic participation amongst new Americans, to ensure that our elected representatives reflect the people and demonstrate the will of the people. And so it's incredibly exciting, I think, in Georgia with where we currently are. And I think our future is very bright in terms of the potential that we possess, especially as the next generation of leaders is rising up. All of that to say, I think the challenges that we face are immense. And I think in light of the reality of not only containing the COVID pandemic, but bringing equity and addressing the socioeconomic inequities that have been exacerbated by the pandemic, of addressing the social injustices that have occurred throughout this country's history. In light of all these challenges, I think we have to be intentional with continuing to work with one another to bring about the objectives, to achieve the objectives that we want, and to continue to make progress. One of the reasons why I'm so incredibly proud to support Reverend Warnock in particular is that Georgia is the cradle of the civil rights movement. And Reverend Warnock, he is currently the steward of Dr. King's church at Ebenezer Baptist. And that line of thinking in which, with arms linked, all of us, Black, white, Asian, Latinx, old, young, all of us, we have to, especially in this moment of time, work together to continue that march toward justice. Because if anything, I think we've seen by Georgia turning blue that change is possible, progress is possible, even in the most reddest of states. And don't get me wrong, Republicans in Georgia, they are incredibly deeply entrenched in terms of their hold on power. All of that to say, we will continue to make progress so long as y'all continue to support us and so long as we continue to work together. And I feel confident that we will be able to win both seats on January 5th. Again, if all of us go all in between now and January 5th to do what we can, to volunteer and to donate to their campaigns. So let's get it done.
Thank you very much to Commissioner Parker and to Representative Park. Thank you, Jane, and thank you, Peter, for helping to get them here. You have a great, amazing group of people who are ready to help you and continue to support you. And we're going to roll up our sleeves and Vote Blue SF is going to be doing this between now and the election. So whatever we can do, please let us know. You know, you have a home and like I said, a lot of big admirers here in San Francisco. So I know that we have a number of folks who are, so thank you again, Sam and Mariah, come back to speak to us. And I know that we have a number of people that have to leave. So my apologies to some of the, you know, we're going to change the sequence a little bit because I know that Tom Temprano and Chanel Williams have to leave. So if it's okay with folks, we're going to turn it over to two candidates that we're proud to endorse for City College and they were both newly re-elected. So Chanel Williams and then Tom Temprano.
Thank you, Chair Campos. And I just want to say it's so inspiring to hear from our representatives from Georgia and just to be part of this movement. I just, of course, looking at all of you on the screen, I just feel like so warmed in my heart and just so excited for what we have ahead of us next year. So first and foremost, happy holidays. We did it. We made it to the end of this year. And I want to thank the party. I want to thank our local Democratic clubs, many of the leaders for your support with both of my campaigns this year, my campaign in March for this party, and also my reelection to the City College Board this past November. I know this has been a really challenging year for all of us, and to throw on top of that, running for office during this uncertain president time, it's not a small feat, and at times it can be daunting. And I just want to congratulate everyone that took that risk in spite of what we faced this year to protect our democracy in our country. And we should continue to work with President-elect Biden, Vice President-elect Harris, which is just so meaningful for me to say that as a San Francisco native and as someone who's watched her career, and also our amazing speaker, Nancy Pelosi, and just to be in solidarity with our fellow Democrats in Georgia. I want to give a special shout out to BART board directors, Bevan Dufty and Latifah Simon, to Supervisor Matt Haney, to my Vice President, Tom Temprano from the City College Board of Trustees, our new board members, Alan Wong and Alia Christie. And I also want to thank Han Zhao for running a great race and being part of our slate. Thank you, Han, for everything that you do. I want to thank Julie Edwards with MGE Strategies, my treasurer, and of course, my mentor, our party chair, David Campos, for all your support this year. In terms of what's next for City College of San Francisco, we have a lot of work to do, but I feel really good about the path that we're on. I'm excited that we're going to begin work this new year to select our next permanent chancellor. And that's going to be a big decision that we need to make, and we need your support. We need San Francisco's support to do that right and to make sure that we have someone that's going to be with us for many years to come, because it's just so critical for the institution at this time. We know that City College does so much to lift up our communities as an affordable and accessible pathway. And I just want to thank everyone for your confidence in us to continue that legacy. And please reach out if you have questions, concerns about what's happening at the institution. We definitely have an open door policy and want to be accountable to all of you. And just again, thank you so much. I believe I had the highest votes, just to brag a little bit, in the local election this year for local office. So that's really also warming for me as a native San Franciscan, as a Black woman, as a young person, to be able to do that during the pandemic. So thank you, everyone. And I'm going to turn it over, I guess, to Vice President Temprano.
Thank you, President Williams. And I just, if I would have known, Chair Campos, that you would have moved us up to have to follow Mariah and Sam, I might have rearranged my schedule because those are tough acts to follow. But I really, I would like to echo Chanel's thanks to you, to all the DCCC members for your support, to all of our Democratic clubs, to all of our amazing Democratic activists who stepped up in this election to affect the results locally across the state and nationwide. I think the biggest winners in the 2020 election were San Francisco Democrats. The Democratic Party slate, which I was proud to be on with Chanel. And I also would like to congratulate Alan, who was endorsed by the party, as well as Alia, who is not, but is going to be an amazing colleague, and thank Han for running. But the Democratic Party slate locally did well, but we have a San Francisco Democrat continuing to lead the House of Representatives. We have a San Francisco Democrat in the White House. We may have more San Francisco Democrats heading into this administration, or perhaps to one of several vacancies that the governor has appointments coming to. And we also showed again in Chair Campos, I remember, I wish we could have done red to blue in the Castro like we did previously, but under your leadership, this party has shown that the San Francisco Democratic Party is not just about winning elections in San Francisco, it's about setting the course for what we want to see from the Democratic Party and affecting change nationally. We win elections not just here, but across the country, and this party and the leadership of this party should be incredibly proud for the work that we all get to do. I'm going to, Chanel noted some of what we have as head at City College. I am going to point to my background. Several speakers have mentioned this, but for those of us who have had the honor to govern, or for those who will soon be governing during this pandemic, this is the most urgent issue that we face. At City College, COVID-19 has meant, moving pretty much our entire college, our faculty, our classified staff, all of our students online. It's meant, working really hard to try to close gaps in access for Black and Brown students in particular, for our homeless students, for our ESL students. And it's also meant for us at City College, training our essential workforce. The first COVID test I got, I had not even a City College graduate, but a City College nursing student assisting in my COVID test. And I was so proud. It was great to meet her. And I know that so many of our graduates and current students are actually leading the COVID response here in San Francisco, and are a big part of the fact that San Francisco has done just about better than any city in the entire country in combating this pandemic. I'm proud that we've been a part of that, but I do really want to echo that right now, so many lives are on the line in this response to COVID. So I hope you'll all join me in staying home, not gathering, and sticking to Zoom for the holidays. And it may give us a little bit more time to phone bank and text bank Georgia, so we can make the most of it. So thank you again, Democratic Party, for all of your work, for all of your support, and for all the work that we're going to be doing over the next month and over the next 2 and 4 years to keep changing elections right here in San Francisco and around the country. So thank you.
Thank you again. Congratulations to President Williams and Vice President Temprano. And since we started going with City College, if it's okay with folks, I'm just going to finish with the 2 additional newly elected members of the City College Board of Trustees, Alan Wong, whom we endorse. And one thing I would say about the challenge with the City College race is that there were so many incredible candidates running, so many amazing Democrats. And even though the endorsement did not formally happen, I know that a lot of us, were so impressed with Aaliyah Chisti. So I'm going to turn it over to Trustee-elects Chisti and Wong to finish out talking about the election to City College. Welcome and congratulations. The floor is yours.
Ellie, do you want to go first?
Go ahead, Alan. You can go. I'll go. All right.
Thank you, everybody. It's such a joy to see so many familiar faces on this Zoom call. We worked together during the election, and we did so much hard work to make sure that we were successful in so many races. And this December is such a relief. I remember 4 years ago, on election night, I was doing a precinct walk, and my partner, or that was my precinct walk partner, and we just ended our walk, and we were looking at some of the results that were coming on the East Coast, and immediately it was really devastating to us. My precinct walk partner told me that, hey, Alan, I need to get a drink after this. And 4 years later, it feels so good to see that sense of relief. So I thank you to all the Democrats, Chair Campos and the party, for doing all the work for electing Democrats nationally and locally to ensure that we keep the country blue. Also, I want to thank you for believing in my campaign. I do think that politics is a team game, and that's why I'm so glad to have partnered with so many different campaigns to work together, because we have common beliefs and we're working towards common causes. And I thank everybody for believing in me, and I believe in so many of the other campaigns that I supported as well from the depths of my heart. For the future, I want to ensure that we continue to advocate for working families. As many of you may know, when my dad came to this country as an immigrant, he was laid off from his job putting together software parts. And so City College was where he was able to learn English and also get the training to become a local 2-union hotel cook for 2 decades to support my family. And City College helped me be able to it gave me my start towards my college career by enabling me to take free classes with a low-income tuition waiver. And so these people like my dad are the folks that we need to continue to be fighting for, working class and immigrant families, so that we can ensure that we have a future. Today, my dad, he's been laid off since March, and he just lost his local 2 healthcare last month. And he told me that the healthcare bill that he faces would be $1,300 a month. And so we need to make sure that we elect strong Democrats across the country so that we are able to ensure that we have national and local policies so that we can help people like my dad be able to overcome the challenges that we face with COVID today. So I want to thank you for all your work. We need to continue to keep fighting to elect as many Democrats as possible across the country so that we will win and we'll be helping working and immigrant families. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Trustee-elect. Trustee-elect Tisty.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, everyone. It feels kind of crazy from the last time that I was here, and now we're celebrating. So this is so exciting. I'm so excited to serve on City College Board, serve with Alan, Tom, and Chanel. And I was born and raised in San Francisco, and I never thought that I would be elected one day and I would be the first Muslim woman to be elected in the history of San Francisco. It's been a crazy ride. And it's at a point I realized that my campaign had taken a life of its own. I had students that were coming out from City College who were volunteering on my campaign. I had young Muslim women that were emailing me and saying that they were inspired by me running for office and how they're interested in running. And so this is an incredible opportunity, and this is a pivotal moment. And I'm so honored to have been elected by the people of San Francisco. I'm excited to work with you all to really move City College forward, because I think City College of San Francisco is an integral part of the social fabric of our city. And if we're going to talk about economic recovery, City College of San Francisco is important. We need to invest in our college. Our students at City College, there's hunger at our college that we don't talk about. There's homelessness. Our students are experiencing homelessness that we don't talk about enough. And I want to talk about that at our board meetings. And I want to make sure that our students are represented and they have their basic needs met to achieve their educational opportunities. And so I can't do it alone. The Board of Trustees can't do it alone. We all have to collectively work together as a community to support our students, to provide opportunities to the residents of San Francisco. And I'm so excited to be a part of this mission. And thank you for having me. I'm excited to work with you all, and happy holidays.
Well, now you can see why the voters elected her. Very inspiring. Congratulations to you and your family. So now we're going to talk about the San Francisco Board of Education. And as someone who spent many years of my life working for the school district, it is truly amazing to see the caliber of the people that ran and were elected. One thing that I'm especially proud of is that the teachers union has become such an important partner in this body. You know, there was a time when the DCCC did not really pay attention to what teachers and organized labor was saying on these races. And I'm proud of the fact that the teachers union and the party were aligned. And so I know that I don't want to lose people, so I'm going to move it along and simply turn it over to the three incredible people who were elected to the San Francisco Board of Education, Kevin Bogus, Matt Alexander, and Mark Sanchez. Each of them has accomplished so much, and as was demonstrated in the incredible victories that they had, I'm very honored that we were part of that. And again, congratulations to these commissioner-elects. So I'll turn it over to the three of you. You can go in whatever order you want, but thank you again and congratulations.
Can I just go first, because I really want to say some nice things about my future colleagues. Thank you, Chair Campos, and hello, Jane Kim, and hello to all the DCCC members, and goodbye to Donald Trump. I am so happy to have been reelected, but also to have gotten the DCCC endorsement. So many individuals on your board endorsed me, and I can't tell you how much that means to me. I want to echo what David said about the coalition building with UESF, with DCCC. That's so very important. So I want to recognize Annabelle and your work as well, both here as well as with UESF. It's incredible work, and I just want to respect that work. I've known Matt Alexander for many years. We've worked together on projects, and I can't say enough about his integrity, about his deep knowledge about our school district and how it runs and how it doesn't really run sometimes. So I know that we are going to be excellent colleagues and working well moving forward. And Kevin, I don't know as well, but we have worked together, and his work with Coleman over the years has been so imperative and integral to the kind of movement that we should be making in our district. And so his voice and his work moving into this job is going to be just imperative to moving us forward in our anti-racist pedagogy that we want to embrace, but we also want to be able to do. And then Jenny's not here, and she was also endorsed by DCCC, but Jenny Lamb, just rounds out an incredible group of folks, and I'm just so very proud again to be working with them moving forward. I'll keep it short. I just want to say that we have a lot to do. Obviously, we have to reopen our schools. This is the most incredibly important work we have to do, and we are doing it. But I just beg of everybody out there that we have to do it in the most safe way possible. We cannot endanger our students, our families, and our staff. We just cannot. And by the way, welcome to my 4th grade classroom. This is where I teach every day. This is it. This is what remote learning and teaching looks like. Again, thank you, everybody. And I'll pass it over to Kevin and Matt.
I guess I can go next. Thank you so much, Mark. Thank you so much. So glad to be here. Honored to be endorsed. I think for me, just like in this moment, and really I feel like since Donald Trump became president, it's become evident that the party structure isn't just about political parties, but really about like the realities of like who deserves to be treated as equal, and who's really viewed as a part of this country. And so I feel really honored to kind of be on our side of that fight. And to kind of put a stake in the ground and say that human rights come first, and that not only are we politically progressive, but we're effective, and that we get stuff done and we make things better for the people in our city and our communities. And that's why I'm really excited to be a part of this board, to work with Mark and the existing board members, as well as my fellow newcoming board member, Matt. I think we really just want to make everybody proud of us and really show how important our schools are to our community, and how much of a vital role our schools are going to play in having a strong response to COVID, and really making sure that our communities can be pandemic proof. And so I'm just really excited about the opportunities, excited to work and collaborate with folks here, and really just center on our communities and what they need, and really kind of represent the values of our party, which is to kind of represent the people at the margins and to bring them into the halls of power and make sure that they're seen and heard and respected. Thank you so much, and glad to be here with everybody tonight.
Yeah, and I'll just echo what my 2 amazing colleagues said. It's really an honor to be elected, and because I think this school board is going to be the best ever, and not just because it's this one, but because if you look historically, I mean, I worked for the district since 1996, and I've never seen a school board that is this diverse and this strong across the board in terms of educators, parents, community organizers like Kevin. I mean, just it's a good, and it's a team. That's the other really exciting thing, is that people like each other and work well together. We don't agree on every single thing, but it's very, I think, unified. And I think we're going to really tackle some things as a team that maybe hasn't been possible in the past, just because of that. And so it's really exciting, and that is due to the DCCC and endorsing this really strong slate. And as Chair Campos said, the leadership of UESF in that process, and I think is just really, really critical. And I think, so so thankful. And I'm just, on a personal level, I'm also grateful. I know endorsing a first-time candidate is a risk, and I really appreciate and value the risk that some of you took. Some of you I've known for, as Mark said, for 2 decades. I've known some people on here, but other people I just got to know through this process. That was one of the big blessings for me, was actually being able to do some of these one-to-ones where I was asking people for their endorsement, but it was just beautiful to be able to connect with so many talented, strong folks on this body of the DCCC. And so just the larger, in addition to the school board, my excitement about the school board, I'm excited about progressive politics in San Francisco and what you all have done to build this incredibly strong DCCC. That gives me hope. And it reminds me of my favorite poem that I like to quote. As some of you know, I was principal of June Jordan School for Equity, which is named after the great poet and activist June Jordan. And in her poem for South African women, the closing line is, "We are the ones we have been waiting for." And I feel like this DCCC, certainly the school board represents that. I feel like this DCCC represents that, of people who are not going to wait around for others to solve their problems, but are going to come together and really, we're in the midst of such a deep crisis, but to see that as an opportunity to make this city live up to the values that it stands for. And so I'm super excited to work with all of you on that.
Well, thank you, Commissioner-elects. And I know that Commissioner Jenny Lamb couldn't be here, but congratulations to her. We were also very proud to support her. And, thank you to UESF, Susan Solomon, the president. But one person, and I think someone noted her, who is just an incredible, it's a force of nature. And we're so proud to have her on this body, is Annabelle Ibanez, who's just incredible, and we're all better off because she's here. Next, I'm going to turn to a very important agency that I know that sometimes, they get a lot of criticism, and, for all of the improvements that you have seen, and there have been improvements with BART, the next 2 individuals have so much to do with making things better. Being running a government, a transportation agency is not easy. One that has, that is multi-jurisdictional. There are so many facets to it. But you have these 2 amazing individuals who on their own individually are doing incredible things. But, as a team, I mean, it's just unstoppable. I know that Janice is here too, so she's a part of that. But I have to begin with someone that I have known for so many years and have admired in so many different ways. Work with my husband, has inspired so many people that look up to her, who is the real deal, and who, it has so much to offer and accomplished already. And she really is a force of nature. And if anyone has any brains in BART in terms of people who are getting in the way of progress, get out of the way, because it's Simon.
Thank you, David. And Chair, right as you were saying my name, Layla, my 9-year-old was screaming, "What's for dinner?" So I'm it's gonna be late. I'll be quick. Hopefully Bevan will talk more, at length. I'm just so thankful to be a part of this community of people who really love the people of San Francisco. I was born and raised in the city, was educated in our public schools in the city. Go Eagles. And as someone who's transit dependent, both in COVID times, in good times and bad, transportation, and I want to say this from the mountaintop every single day, is central to civil society, urban civil society. Mobility is a human right. We will keep the trains running. Bevan, Janice, and I, and other progressive members of the board will have shaken trees. We will get resources. In fact, as president this year, I'm so proud of what our board has been able to do in terms of not only keeping the trains running, making some very difficult decisions, but prioritizing workers and prioritizing racial justice within the institution, prioritizing police reform within the system, prioritizing means-based fares, discounts. I can go on, but we have put our heads down and done some very difficult work. And for those of you who are nervous for BART, you should be nervous for public transportation all over the country, but we are in good hands and we will make it through, not only this year where I will close this deficit, next year is going to be tough too, but we will work very closely with the congressional delegation. We will be, again, shaking trees. And, I am proud to be a Kamala Harris alum. I worked in her office with Susie for 5 years and developed reentry programs. So in many ways, the lobbying, I believe that we'll be able to do both, in the executive branch and in the congressional side will be strong. And I will pass it to my brother, Bevan. I have never worked with someone who has been so generous with his mentorship and time and humor and love. And this next 4 years, I just can't wait to see what we're going to do and what we're going to shape up. Bevan, you've taught me so much. Let's keep rolling. Bevan.
Bevan Dufty, the incredible Bevan Dufty. Where is he?
Bevan's probably making dinner too. Maybe he had to jump on.
See him on the call.
By the way, I see Derek Devermont from the who represents us on the DNC here. Thank you for being in the meeting. I know you had to leave, but thank you for being here. Is Bevan here? Okay,
No,
I don't.
he won't be able to show up. Sorry.
Okay, well, I just want to say this. I've known Bevan for many years. I served with him on the San Francisco Board of Supervisors. And, Bevan, not only is he a hard worker, but he has a big heart. And he really takes the time to hear people, to understand their concerns. And not only that, but also, I really appreciate that he takes the time to mentor people, especially he has a passion for mentoring women of color. And I think that's one of his great contributions. And I'm just so happy that he was so easily reelected. And Bevan, if you're listening, wanted to to say thank you for what you do and congratulations. And since Bevan is not here, I'm going to turn it over to Derek Devermont. Derek, do you want to say a few words before you go?
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thank you, Chair Campos. You've done a great job with this party, and I do hope to see your continued involvement in the party in many different roles. I just want to say to all of you, I see a lot of faces that I do recognize. I saw Susan, I saw Keith, I see you there, Keith, and I see how you doing? And where is Leah? I saw Leah. But it's nice to see you all. I'm your DNC, one of your 20 DNC members that are elected. If you ever need anything, feel free to contact me. We've been working really very, very hard through the presidential election. I'm sure, as you can imagine, now in Georgia, it was great to hear about the insight from some of your speakers. Actually, we have a fundraiser going on December 17th for Georgia, and we're all canvassing and working hard. And we really can't do it without all of you. So thank you for everything that you've done. If you ever need to contact me, I will put my email in the chat, and happy to serve you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Derek, and I appreciate you for doing all the work and always continue to stay connected to people. So we will turn it back to our good friend, Bevan Dufty, who wasn't here when he heard all the nice things we were saying about him, but he knows we love him. So Bevan, congratulations. The floor is yours.
I think his laptop just died. His laptop just died. So it just get caught up of the Zoom right now. Yeah. I think we lost our chair, right? Am I right? Nobody can hear him, right? Nobody can see him. Peter Galeana, Vice Chair of Partnership, do you want to take it over and say goodbye to everyone?
Well, I don't know if is Bevan coming back?
Bevan just texted me. Bevan just texted me his laptop died. So it's just like.
Well, before, I know we're like way over time, but I would just say to any of my colleagues on the DCCC, if anyone wanted to share any kind of parting words. I know I see Lee Lovett, I see Gloria Berry, Honey, Keith, anything you all want to share. I know Mano just joined as well, AJ Thomas, Queena, just shout outs to all of you.
I just
Hi,
actually
want to
Leah.
sorry, just wanted to give one more shout out to Peter for his incredible leadership during Vote Blue SF. I think that I speak for all of us in saying that it was you who really steered the Democratic Party during this last election in getting involved across the country. And so, you know, I think that the win in the White House, as well as across all of our congressional districts that we called in, a lot of that has to do with you. So thank you and congratulations, Peter. And thank you, Karima, for your courageous leadership. And as someone said, herding cats, which I know that a lot of us have a lot of conflicting schedules, and you do it with such grace, and you make it look easy. So thank you. And thank you to all the Democrats who joined us on our phone banks, who went and walked precincts with us, and who consistently show up, whether it be at the DCCC or at our other Democratic clubs. Thank you to all the people who are involved on the executive boards to our clubs, because you are our boots on the ground and the people that are helping to galvanize our communities and getting people who would not otherwise be reached interested in politics and making sure that they are represented in our local government. So thank you for all the work you're doing, and happy holidays. Be safe, everyone.
Thanks. Thank you, honey. Leah, sorry, Vice Chair Leah Lacroix. I forgot
Yeah, I think Honey said, thank you, Vice Chair Galata. I think Honey said it best. To thank you to all of, you know, to our chair, David Campos, our executive director, Karima Lynch, all of the Democrats who, you know, helped, you know, make sure that we had a very successful election cycle this November, you know, from elections and ballot measures locally to, you know, the White House and everywhere in between. You know, there's still a little bit of work to go. We have the runoff in Georgia, and there's a few other races, but I think we have, you know, a moment to kind of spread holiday cheer and pat ourselves on the back for a job well done as we pivot and look toward the new year at the new challenges ahead. But I just wanted to again say thank you to our amazing leadership here at the DCCC with our chair and executive director and my colleagues on the executive committee, and as well as all the Democrats who have kind of worked to make sure that we had a very successful election cycle. Have a very safe holiday season. Please stay on Zoom or other virtual gatherings as we continue to fight a pandemic, because that does not take a holiday, unfortunately. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you all in person sometime soon. But yeah.
Thank you, Peter, for taking over, and I appreciate that. And I'm sorry I got lost. My technology went out. But any other member of the DCCC would like to say a few words? I do want to make sure you have an opportunity. Member Lovett.
Sure. It is so amazing to see all your faces and all your names of people who have been involved. This is a tough time. You know, we are living through not just a pandemic, but all, you know, the fallout from this that has affected people's, you know, mental health, their physical well-being, the economy, our communities. When we see everything that's boarded up, it is wonderful that we can come together to celebrate, because we're celebrating resilience. And you know, for more than 4 years, we've been organizing and resisting. And now we get to continue to organize, and we get to act in, you know, positive ways that are proactive. So we are all doing this work, and I just want to give a shout out to folks for the hard, heavy lifts, right? When they have families and other people to be responsible for, but they're out there, you know, dropping literature and knocking on doors and making phone calls and reaching out to their friends and others and making sure that people vote. We are a strong community. We are so many, we are so diverse. You know, as somebody who's an immigrant, who has worked with people in so many communities in education, I just feel really optimistic that both as a Democratic Party, but also as the community of San Francisco, the beautiful communities of San Francisco, we are really going to make 2021 and, you know, the future a lot better. So thank you all for the heavy lift that you've done.
And I see our public defender. I wanted to make sure that I acknowledge him. He is incredible. As someone who is now watching him in action, I'm so glad he's in there. Our public defender, Mano Raju.
Thank you, Dave. Thank you, Chair Campos. I really appreciate being here, and you know, it's been beautiful listening to all the messages from such a diverse, dynamic crew. I want to thank everyone at DCCC for welcoming me in my first term in DCCC. And if I had to think about this last year and a few words going into the next year, I think of resilience, humanity, and hope. Those are three words I'd like us to carry forward into the new year. It's been, you know, despite the pandemic, it's really been amazing to see this group come together and coalesce around so many issues that are so important for so many communities that are struggling this time. And I think the intersectional wisdom represented here and the focus on, you know, housing, employment, criminal justice reform has been really beautiful to see in this time. And I know vaccines are around the corner, and you know, I think this time internal has really been a time for reflection. We also are in the middle and still in this George Floyd moment where we see the renewed commitment to racial justice, and it's just really beautiful to see this coalition of individuals come together in this time. And I really look forward to all we can accomplish in the new year. So blessed holiday to everyone, and thank you for everyone's amazing work this year.
Thank you, Member Raju. Anyone else? Anyone else want to say a few words? Let me turn it over to Karima Lynch, our Executive Director. Karima, you're going to have the last word. And again, I want to thank everyone. Look forward to seeing you working on Vote Blue SF. But again, you know, to our incredible interns, Priscilla, Alan, I know Zoe had to leave. But, you know, this is done every day by Karima. So Karima, the last word is yours. Turn it over to you. And thank you again for all you do.
Thank you so much, Chair Campos. I was really excited to organize this holiday party, this weird holiday party via Zoom with Peter Galeota and Chair Campos and the intern. And I was really excited that everybody could make it, and everybody came and responded and came early. And I'm so sorry for the delay. Thank you so much for sticking around and staying with us. I can see that everybody was really excited to see each other and to be there together. So thank you so much. And thank you for making my work really easy. I couldn't done it without all of you for hosting phone banks, for making those phone banks happen, for pushing me every day to do better. So I want to thank all of you, because I work with every DCCC members, even those who are really busy, they make time for me. And I want to really say from the bottom of my heart, thank you, thank you, thank you. So happy holidays, enjoy. Thank you for sticking around, and give you kisses.
Thank you, San Francisco Democrats. Happy holidays. See you around. Be safe. Thank you.